The message arrived while I was helping my daughter with her science project. She was 10 years old, completely focused on building a tiny solar panel system for her school presentation. My 8-year-old son sat nearby, reading a book about marine biology and occasionally showing me pictures of deep-sea creatures he found fascinating. It was a typical Saturday afternoon in our home, quiet and productive. "Stay away from the family reunion," the text read. "Nobody wants you or your poor kids there." It was from my older brother, Archer, blunt and direct, just like him. We had grown up in a house that valued appearances above almost everything else. My parents built their lives around keeping up a certain image in their social circle. They had the right cars, lived in the right neighborhood, and belonged to the right clubs. Archer absorbed those values completely. He married into wealth and spent his weekends at private clubs and charity events, which were more about being seen than actually helping anyone. I chose a different path. After college, I started small by buying a struggling 2-unit property and teaching myself real estate management through trial and error. My parents said it was beneath me. During family dinners, Archer would openly laugh, asking when I was going to get a real career instead of just being a landlord. But I saw something they didn't. Real estate, when managed well and focused on true value instead of flash, could quietly build significant wealth. While Archer was financing luxury cars and designer clothes to maintain his image, I was reinvesting my profits, growing slowly, and learning the business from the ground up. I put my phone down gently, not wanting to break the calm of the afternoon. Mila glanced up for a moment, noticed my expression, and then went back to her work. She had already learned not to ask me about my family. The questions had stopped around her 7th birthday, after I explained why her grandparents and uncle never visited. My phone buzzed again. It was another message from Archer. "I'm serious. The family discussed it. Your lifestyle is an embarrassment. Showing up with the kids in discount store clothes will ruin the photos. Mom agrees, Dad agrees, everyone agrees." I read it twice. The family reunion was scheduled for the next weekend at the Grand Vista Resort. It was about 40 minutes from our house on the outskirts of the city. 3 months ago, Archer had sent a message to the family group chat announcing the dates. I didn't reply then, just quietly added it to my calendar. My son, Knox, looked over at me. "Everything's fine," I said, ruffling his hair. "Keep reading." He smiled and returned to his book about octopuses. I walked to my home office, a small room that used to be a bedroom. The desk was neat and tidy, holding only a laptop and a few folders. I opened my email and checked recent messages from my property management company and from the Grand Vista Resort. I had bought it 6 years ago through a private company as part of a broader investment strategy that had turned out to be remarkably successful. The property had been struggling, poorly managed by the previous owners who failed to adapt to changing trends in hospitality. I had seen potential where others saw risk. The purchase required careful negotiation. The resort was on a prime piece of land, but it had outdated facilities and a reputation for bad service. I spent months analyzing the market, learning what travelers truly wanted versus what the old owners assumed they wanted. The key was simple. People valued genuine comfort and excellent service more than superficial luxury. I invested in staff training, modernized the technology, remodeled the rooms with high-quality materials instead of expensive finishes, and rebuilt the restaurant around local ingredients and authentic cuisine. Within 3 years, the resort was profitable. By year 5, it was one of the top-rated properties in the region. No one in my family knew. They had stopped asking about my work years ago, back when I was just starting my first few deals. My dad said my attempts at business were just a hobby. My mom suggested I get a real job with benefits. Archer had been the loudest critic, mocking every project and every calculated risk. The irony was that Archer worked a middle management job where he constantly complained about office politics and a lack of opportunities for advancement. He earned a good salary, but most of it went towards supporting the lifestyle he felt his status required. Meanwhile, I had quietly built a portfolio of properties that generated a significant passive income, all while giving me time to be present for my children. So I stopped sharing. I stopped going to family dinners where my efforts were belittled. I stopped trying to explain that the long hours and careful planning were building something solid. I called the resort manager, a capable woman named Daniela, who'd been with the property for 4 years. "Daniela, I need you to handle something for me," I said calmly. "There's a family reunion booked for next weekend under the name Archer Gutierrez. I need you to cancel that reservation and restrict access." There was a brief pause. "Cancel it completely?" "Yes, refund the deposit, minus the cancellation fee according to our standard policy. Then block any future reservations from that name or any associated family members." "Understood. I'll process that right away." "Thank you." I hung up and went back to the living room. My daughter had managed to connect her solar panel to a small LED light. She grinned with delight as it flickered on. "It works!" she exclaimed. "I knew it would," I said. "You're brilliant." My phone rang 20 minutes later. It was Archer. I let it go to voicemail, then listened to the message. "What the hell did you do?" His voice was frantic and angry. "The resort just called and canceled our reservation. They said the order came from the owner. Do you know the owner? Did you complain about us? Call me back immediately." I deleted the message. Another call came in 10 minutes later, then another. Then texts started pouring in from my mom, my dad, Archer again, and my Aunt Alana. They were all confused, upset, and demanding an explanation. I sent a single text to Archer. "I got your message about the reunion. I've handled it accordingly." He called me within seconds. I answered. "What did you do?" he demanded. "I restricted access to the venue," I said simply. "You can't just restrict access to a resort. Who do you think you are?" "The owner." Silence. A long, heavy silence. "You're lying," he finally said. "No. The Grand Vista Resort has been mine for 6 years. I bought it through Sierra Alta Properties, a limited liability company. Daniela can confirm it, or you can check the public property records. They're public." More silence. You own a resort?" His voice had changed. It was uncertain now. "I own several properties. The resort was a good investment. It's done well." "Several properties?" "Yes. The hotel chain downtown, the convention center on Constituentes Avenue, the vacation homes near the lake, the small shopping plaza on Chapultepec Avenue. Should I continue?" I could hear him breathing on the other end of the line. "How is that possible?" he asked, his voice now small. "You drive a 10-year-old sedan. Your kids wear clothes from regular stores. You live in a normal house in a normal neighborhood." "Exactly," I said. "I drive a reliable car that's paid off. My kids wear durable, comfortable clothes. I live in a house that's the right size for our family, near good schools. I don't spend money to show other people I have money. That's the difference between you and me, Archer. You spent the last 15 years acting rich. I spent them building wealth. But the gatherings, the holidays, you always seemed so, what? Poor and happy? That's what you wanted to see. It confirmed your narrative that you had made better choices, that your path was the right one. It never occurred to you or any of them that I might just be doing fine in my own way. Dad always said you were wasting your potential. Dad measures potential by how impressive someone's job title sounds at a cocktail party. I measure it by whether I'm building something sustainable and whether I have time for my kids. We just have different definitions." The silence stretched between us. I could hear background voices on his end, probably his wife asking what was going on. "The family is going to want to hear about this," he finally said. "That's up to you what you tell them," I replied. "But understand one thing clearly, Archer. I'm not interested in your sudden acceptance now that you know I have money. I'm not interested in being the success story you brag about to your friends. I made my choices on purpose, and I'm happy with them. What I'm not happy about is you insulting my children." "Why didn't you tell anyone?" he wondered. "You stopped asking about my work 8 years ago. You called my first business a joke, the second one a waste of time. Over time, I realized you weren't interested in what I was building. You were interested in maintaining a story where I was failing and you were succeeding. That's not fair. You sent me a message this morning telling me my kids weren't welcome because we were poor. Those were your exact words. My poor kids. I didn't know. You didn't ask. Nobody asked. You saw that I lived simply, drove a practical car, and bought normal clothes for my kids, and you assumed I was struggling. It never occurred to you that I simply don't value the same status symbols you do. My daughter appeared in the doorway, carefully holding her science project. Dad, can you help me write the explanation cards? I'll be right there, I told her. Into the phone, I said, I have to go. My daughter needs help with her project. Wait, Archer said quickly. Can we talk about this? The reunion is important. Mom and Dad wanted everyone together. You should have thought of that before you excluded my children. I made a mistake. I'm sorry. Are you sorry you said it? Or are you sorry you were wrong about my financial situation? He didn't answer. That's what I thought, I said. Goodbye, Archer. I hung up and turned off my phone. The next morning, I received an email from my mom. The subject line was, "Please reconsider." The message was long and full of apologies. It explained that Archer had made a terrible mistake, that the family didn't really feel that way, that of course my children were welcome, and that everyone wanted me there. I read it carefully and then wrote a reply. Mom, I appreciate you writing to me. However, this isn't just about the reunion. For years, you and Dad have dismissed my work, my choices, and my values. You've implied that I was failing because I didn't display wealth the way you expected. You've made my children feel uncomfortable at family events because we don't wear designer clothes or drive luxury cars. This has been a consistent and hurtful pattern. The comment about the reunion was just the latest clear example of a long-standing problem. I need you to understand that I have been successful by my own definition. I've built businesses that provide jobs, offer services, and generate sustainable income. I've done this while prioritizing time with my children and holding on to the values I believe in. I don't need your approval anymore, but I do require your respect. Until that can change, I think it's best we keep some distance. I sent it and felt a weight lift off my shoulders. My dad called that afternoon. I answered. Your mother is very upset, he said. I understand. She says you own the resort. Yes, I do. And other properties? Yes. Why didn't you tell us? Would it have mattered? Did you believe I was worth something even when you thought I didn't have money? He was quiet for a moment. That's a fair question. I love you and Mom, I said, but I can't keep exposing my children to an environment where they are judged for not having expensive things. They are good kids, smart, kind, and curious. They deserve better than to have poor used as an insult against them. Archer was out of line. Archer was clear. He said the family discussed it. That suggests it wasn't just his opinion. Another pause. We may have had conversations about appearances, about wanting everything to look right for the photos. There it is, I said softly. I think we owe you an apology. A real one. I think so too, but an apology has to come with a change in behavior. I'm not interested in a conversation where everyone says they're sorry and then goes back to the same old way of thinking. Fair enough, he said. Can I ask you something? Of course. Are you happy with your life, your work, your choices? The question surprised me. Yes, very happy. My kids are growing up well. My businesses are stable. I have time for the things that matter to me. I'm exactly where I want to be. Then I think we've been looking at it all wrong, he admitted. We were measuring your success by our standards instead of your own. That's a good realization, I said. We could try again. Maybe not the reunion, but something smaller. Just you and your kids. Maybe your mom and me. Somewhere neutral. I thought about it. Maybe. Let me think about it. That's all I can ask. We talked for a few more minutes, both of us carefully navigating new ground. When we hung up, I felt cautiously optimistic. That evening, I took my kids to their favorite pizza place. We sat at a corner booth and they told me about their day, their projects, and their friends. Mila described her science teacher's reaction to the solar panel project. Knox told me about a documentary on deep-sea exploration he wanted to watch. They were happy, secure, and unaware of the family drama that had unfolded. My phone vibrated, a text from Daniela. Reservation canceled as requested. A family member attempted to rebook under a different name. Blocked as per your instructions. All set. I replied, "Thank you." "Well handled." Knox looked up from his pizza. "Dad, can we go hiking this weekend?" "Of course," I said. "Where do you want to go?" "To the Waterfall Trail, the one we went to last summer." "Perfect. We'll pack sandwiches and make a day of it." Mila smiled. "Can I bring my camera?" "Absolutely." They went back to their food, chatting about the hike and what animals we might see. I watched them, these two incredible kids who had taught me what really mattered. They didn't need a family reunion with people who judged them. They needed stability, love, and a father who was consistently there for them. My phone vibrated again. It was Archer. "Can we please talk? I really messed up." I replied, "No, I'm with my kids right now." His response came quickly. "I understand. When you're ready?" I put my phone aside and focused on my children. Everything else could wait. Some things were more important than family drama, more important than proving a point or demanding apologies. Sometimes the best response was simply to live well, to protect the ones who mattered most, and to refuse to negotiate the values that defined who you were. Mila reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "Thanks for pizza night, Dad." "Anytime," I said, squeezing back, and I meant it.